Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Building podcast. Today, Jeff and I are with Liliana Roman, who is the owner of Roman Facilities Services. How you doing today, Liliana?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, good. Thank you for asking. So just like we start almost every show here, we just like to see, a kind of a background, currently what you're up to, what got you into what you're doing now, and kind of the career path that took you there. So the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thanks. Well, I own Roman Facility Services, so we handle, commercial cleaning. I have day porters, do a little bit of handyman work across the Phoenix market. As far as like my day to day, like I stay involved with like operations, client communication, quality control, things like that. I've actually been in janitorial since 2019. I started on the account management side. Then I went over to the sales side a little bit. Then I went back to operations. And after all those years, I decided it's time to go on my own. Going from managing the accounts to like owning the outcome, that's been like the career path the last, 6 years now. So when you're the owner, you just kind of feel like every mistake is on you, right? And it changes things a lot, like dramatically from when you were just an employee to being the actual owner now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Makes
for sure.
sense. What
Yeah.
inspired you the most to kind of go out on your own?
I'll be honest, I got laid off and I was told that it was a company restructure, and then found out the next day that they hired 4 people to basically do what I do. So it was one of those where I think maybe, I don't know, it was cheaper to hire 4 people than continue paying my salary. I'm not sure. But I didn't want to deal with that anymore. I have 2 kids. At the time, literally days before I got laid, or days after I got laid off, my son was graduating high school and then leaving to Boston to go to college in the fall. So it was one of those things where I had to think fast, and I knew that if I went and I started another job at another company, I was not going to have the flexibility that I've always had. And I needed the flexibility to be able to go see my son, move him out there. I still have another child here in Arizona, so it was like I needed that flexibility, and I'm like, this is it. Maybe this is like my sign.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned you had gotten into facilities and you really like the not just owning the accounts, but then seeing it through and seeing all the operations. What would you say is your favorite part of now owning your business here?
Um, Honestly, I never thought I'd say, I think the networking part of it, like just talking to other people, other business owners, kind of just like hearing from them, like what they're doing, sharing best practices. I have noticed that like the people that I network with, they didn't start the way I did. They were kind of like, already high up in another company, and then they purchased a company that was being sold like in the janitorial, or they became a franchise or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool to share my story because like I've been in the trenches, like I started managing
Mm-hmm.
the employees. I've cleaned with the employees, like I've done all of that. So that's been like my favorite part, kind of just sharing like my history and talking to other people and just building those connections.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you started your business, and then as you got into it, what are some things that you didn't expect along the way that kind of hit you, and then you figured out? What were the biggest surprises, I guess?
Um, Staffing.
Mm.
Staffing has been difficult. I do a lot of subcontracting, but I do have a couple of
Mm-hmm.
accounts that they require them to have a background and like a fingerprint clearance card, things like that. And so I bring those on as W-2 employees. And that's just been really difficult. I didn't realize, I guess, how hard it is to find good people. So that's been one of
Yeah.
my biggest struggles. And also, I think just being so new, like I'm barely hitting a year in business this month, actually. And it's been hard to like manage the day-to-day operations, but also like the nights, right? Because I promise my clients, like, you will have quality control at night. Someone will be checking in. A lot of times that someone is me. I'm showing up at 11 p.m. to make sure that the cleaning got done the way it was supposed to.
Hmm.
Employee calls out or says, a subcontractor's like, hey, I can't come in tonight, I'm sick. I'm going in. So that's been the most difficult part, but also I think in a way like rewarding, because I'm like, I'm in the trenches with them, right? Like, no one can ever say she doesn't know what this is like.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, we're also doing some hiring, and it's very difficult to really pinpoint exactly what kind of employee you like, and also to try to find someone that it, obviously no one's perfect, but to find someone that fits within your team and also can do a great job, and so we feel you on that for sure. What's one system in kind of facilities or cleaning facilities that you found that people may not really expect or may not have thought about using, or what's kind of driven your success behind the scenes? And obviously you don't have to share too much, but
Honestly, I think just like having a clear scope of work. I think what
Mm.
happens in a lot of businesses is, and like it's a lot of industries, you get the sale and you get excited, it's closing, and you're like, yes, and it feels very like car salesman, right? Like you drive off the
Hmm.
lot and that guy's not checking up on you anymore, right? Um,
Hmm.
so something like, and I saw those mistakes, I saw those gaps, I saw all of that with the different companies that I have worked for in the last 6 years. So that was one thing that I just did not want for my company and my name. Um, so
Hmm.
one of the things that, I mean, I get a lot of compliments on, and a lot of my customers really like it, and even other business owners are like, that's great. I do the clear scope, I have the walkthrough with the client. I make sure that everything on that scope of work is exactly what they want as far as their cleaning goes, because then it just avoids the frustration. When you start that new account, yes, things are gonna, it's gonna take a little bit for that cleaning crew to really know your building and get things 100% right. But
Hmm.
if it's not on the scope of work and you're expecting it, it's going to create like animosity and they're going to think we're not doing a good job. That's why before we even start, like, let's look this over together and make sure that everything that you want is on there. And if it's not, let's talk about it, let's add it, let's see what that looks like. That and clear communication. I'm not scared to like talk to my clients.
Hmm.
To tell them like, hey, we didn't discuss that. That's why it wasn't done. Things like that. So I feel like a lot of people are really getting on that. I know I've seen other scopes of work from other companies, so I think it's finally starting to like make sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So who would you say that your ideal customers are? Do you work mostly with property managers, facilities managers? What kind of industry?
Yeah, so I have a mix of like different. I have daycares, I have office spaces, and then I do work with property managers. Um, right now, my favorites are my property managers just because it changes. Like I feel like every day it's like, hey, we have this person coming in from like the regional side, and hey, we're gonna have this event and things like that. So those have been like my favorites to work with recently, and I'm getting a lot of those because not only am I doing like their weekly or their daily cleaning of like their common areas so they can show potential tenants, what their space looks like. I'm also getting their move outs. And so like the way the move outs are, if somebody moves out and my crew goes in there and cleans it and you walk it and you don't find any issues or like it's very minimal, that takes so much stress off of that property manager. And the way that spreads like wildfire is crazy because I've gotten so many phone calls from property managers that are like, hey, I got your number from so and so, you did some turns over there, can you help? And yeah, those have been like my good customers right now. But I do take on anything commercial. Um,
Mm.
I'm trying to limit myself, to be honest, to not taking like the 1 day a weeks just because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense like financially for me. But I don't know, I'm a softie sometimes, and so I feel bad, and I'm like, yeah, we'll take it. Why not? but I really need to get out of that mindset.
I feel you. Yeah, I'm that way too, and Jacob kind of balances me out sometimes. Like, hey, we don't want this.
I need
Yeah, no,
someone
that's
to balance me out.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, thank you for sharing. The that definitely makes sense then, especially like we work with the same type of people, and clear scope of work, like and clear communication, like you mentioned, is so important. And just to kind of like take off any stress that's there, right? If it's not clearly communicated, then it's something that someone's probably thinking about. And so that's like you said, that's super important. Kind of going off of that as well, like what may like property managers get wrong about cleaning contracts? Like what's something that you've seen, and what could you kind of add value to help clear up that type of communication?
Yeah. So when I started working with property managers, I was working for a franchise company. One of the things that I noticed from the start was, they would get like what they call a day porter or a housekeeper. Hey, I have them for 8 hours. They're cleaning the common areas, they're taking out the trashes, things like that. But then I started noticing that my employees were like, hey, Liliana, they pulled me from cleaning the clubhouse to go clean an apartment clean. Like it's somebody that moved out and they have a quick move in. And I'm like, okay, like for today that's fine, but like let me figure out what's going on. So I started to notice that a lot of these community managers, they thought, well, I have 8 hours. She did this for 4. She's going to go do that for 4. And then it was like, you had to educate them. And I'm like, okay, but now we pulled her away from doing X, Y, and Z, and your hallways didn't get vacuumed, and this didn't get cleaned, that elevator got missed. And so tomorrow it's going to add to that workload. And what if tomorrow morning you have a surprise visit? Then what are we going to do? And that's when like I went to my boss and I'm like, maybe we should do something like preferred pricing, right? Hey, you're already one of our clients. We have a team specifically for turn cleans that will go and do it for you. This way you're not taking away from your day to day. And it worked, right? But I still run into that. I still run into some property managers that they want to utilize the same person for 2 different things. And it can work maybe if they do it after their shift, but to pull them in the middle of their shift, you're just going to end up seeing problems. It may not be that day, but eventually you will start to see that, hey, once again, this elevator didn't get cleaned, and this is the one elevator that everybody takes, and now we have resident complaints, and things like that. So that's been the biggest one, but I think educating the property manager always wins. They're very understanding, and they're like, I didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. It kind of goes into the next question, but how do you structure your cleaning programs and contracts, things like that? Obviously, you don't have to get to specifics, but what have you found that works the best for your programs?
So the way I do it, honestly, is once I have the walkthrough with the client, they're like, yes, I'm interested in cleaning. I will walk it with them. I'm very upfront. I'll ask, what are your pain points? Like, why am I here? Why are you wanting to change your cleaning company? What's going on? So then I try to find out the pain points. I walk the entire thing. I take some notes. And then, again, I email them that scope of work, right? If they decide to go with me, with my company, I'll have a meeting before we start. And then we go over it again in person. And then we do the walkthrough again. Make sure we didn't miss anything. I lay it out there. I let them know. I send them a welcome email. Hey, this is who your point of contact is going to be. I'm going to need alarm code or whatever. Like I set it up so that we can start successfully. And I let them know, like the first month, you're probably going to see me there a lot in the daytime and at nighttime, and I'll be around. And that's just to make sure that things are going well. But other than that, like I can't really say I have like a top secret as to how things have been so successful. It's just really when they see you there and you're following up, they know that like you care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's great. One of the reasons why we started this podcast was to really educate and help bring attention to things that go on beyond just what you see, at the storefront or in the lobby or whatever it is. And so we appreciate that, but to kind of to build off that too, what would you say are some good questions that facilities or property managers could ask, to make sure that they're getting the most out of their cleaning contract,
Um,
or that help you really get a good grasp on it, you know?
I don't, honestly, I don't know what they could really ask. I'm really big on like, I'm the person that specializes in cleaning, right? So like, I'm gonna educate
Hmm.
you. And I'm usually the one with all of the questions.
No, that's good.
But
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, I think even like if I was a property manager, I would want to know, am I going to have the same team here every day? Because I've heard that there's people that don't have the same cleaners every day. It's someone
Hmm.
new. You get this person 2 days a week, you get that person 2 days a week, and that's no way to like keep up with the quality control because then you don't know who's messing up, right? So I think that would
Yeah.
be a really big question I would ask. If I was a property manager, I'd also ask, okay, can we sit down in 30 days and like just go over what's working and what's not working? And I think that that's really important because then it saves the frustration. Some people just kind of stay quiet and then 6 months later they're like, we hate you and we want to quit, we want to fire you because nothing's working and you had no idea. Those would be my two
Hmm.
biggest ones. If I was the one hiring, that's what I would ask.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's good insight too. I think that's really important is like we talked about clear communication, but it's just so important to be upfront about those things like you said, you like to ask all these questions. That's fantastic because that's you're getting the answers and now you don't have to sit there and wonder like, well, do they want this or do they like this or are they really happy? You know it because you've asked them, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you raised the point too that we can kind of relate to about having the same crew on a particular, whether it be cleaning or in our case, roofing job, just because those people that are on that every day or however often they are, they know the building or the roof or the inside of the whatever you're cleaning best, right? So they know where the parts are that they need to clean better, or not necessarily better, but just they know the building better, and I think that's probably important, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
very important. And one thing too that I try to do is obviously I can't be there all the time, but I have one employee that she's kind of like my supervisor. Um, and when I start a new account, I send her as well to get the training done. And I
Hmm.
always tell my clients, this is just in case things happen, people get sick, you know, stuff happens and somebody can't show up, you're always going to have someone here. I know the scope of work. I want her to learn it and learn the building and learn the cleaning. This way she can fill in if needed. Um, and I think that that really goes a long way as well because you have a backup and it's just one backup person. It's not
Mm.
five.
For
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you've been in the industry for a little bit now. What are you seeing that's changing, whether it be with technology or AI is big now or whatever it is? What have you noticed that's changed in your time?
Honestly, like the speed of response, I feel like
Mm.
clients expect issues handled like right away. If you're not set up
Mm.
for that, you're falling behind. Whether that's you as the manager, you have an account manager, you have a supervisor, whatever it is, like you have to be able to communicate the issue to the employee and or whoever needs to be communicated to just to handle it. Um, because it's real easy for them to be like, you took 3 hours to reply. In those 3 hours, I called someone else.
Hmm.
So I've noticed that the whole automation and AI thing, I'm not a fan of it. I think that a lot of people are using it to help with like scheduling and communication, but it definitely doesn't replace like execution. Cleaning still comes down to people doing it, and you want to still have that real life interaction with someone. Um, so I wouldn't say like that's something that it's new. Obviously, it wasn't around 6 years ago, but I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm sure it's going to take over, but I'm hoping that it won't be too bad. um,
Yeah.
Another thing I've
Hmm.
noticed a big difference with like systems. I've worked with a lot of CRMs, and it's crazy how many are actually out there. But
Mm.
like the accountability system of like, not just even your CRM, like just your system as the owner or as the manager of a business, right? Like you're not just sending somebody out to go clean. And I hate the term clean is clean or cleaning is cleaning because it's really not. It's so different. Um, so yeah, just having a good CRM for your salespeople, your operations people, having check-ins, reporting, take ownership. things like that. Like
Mhm.
I see that that's becoming a thing now. Like people are wanting to be more involved now. And I didn't see that before. Before it was just kind of like
Mhm.
whoever, you know?
Yeah, to your point too, it's like obviously everything, especially with, AI and automation, it's changing, weekly. And it's crazy. But for this type of industry, and the different people that we talk to on this podcast, a lot of times they answer the same way that you just did, which is, yeah, it helps maybe get some tasks done, but we obviously we want to stay personable. We want to make sure that we're just following up, and it's not some AI bot that's always checking in, and you're giving that personal touch, which I think when you're dealing with facilities managers, property managers, obviously they want a quick response, like you said, but it means a lot more when it comes from the actual person that's really checking in, because it shows, like you said, it shows that you care actually about their project rather than, oh, it's just another number. I'm just gonna cleaning is cleaning. I'll just send someone and let it go. So I think that really sets you apart, because I think a lot of companies don't have that balance with automation, right? Like they just fully go into automation and let and that's how relationships die, in my opinion. So that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I talked with another, oh, sorry, I think it cut out.
oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me still?
Yep, we can hear
Okay,
you.
sorry. I was like, I think it cut out. I
No, you're
actually
good.
met with another business owner from another state, and he was telling me about a system that he started using, and he's like, I'm just testing it out. And literally, he said that the way the AI system was working, it would like send out these emails or phone calls, and it's like, hey, I just walked by your building, blah, 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 are you looking for cleaning? And that the amount of people that were like, that's weird, we haven't been in that building for X amount of time. He's like, it was just so embarrassing. And honestly, after hearing that, I'm like, I don't think I could ever use an AI system. Can't do it.
Yeah, it definitely has its downfalls, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of like systems, you had mentioned a couple. Are there anything that kind of sticks out to you that's just been consistent and reliable that's helped you solve issues quicker? Whether it was when you were working for someone or owning your own, is there anything kind of that sticks out?
So, one thing that I loved with the very first company that I worked at, they had a complaint policy. And if a
Hmm.
complaint came in, you logged it, and then you followed up within 24 hours to make sure that it was resolved. Then you followed up again, I think it was like 3 days later, just to make sure things were going well. And then a week later, you followed up one last time because you wanted to make sure that everything was still running smoothly. And then you closed it. You were able to close
Hmm.
that complaint. Um, I loved that. I really implemented that a lot everywhere that I went after that company. And even with myself, right now, like I am a one woman show, right? Like I'm doing it all besides the cleaning. But if I do get like a complaint of like, hey, this was missed, or hey, we ran out of soap, or whatever the case was, I make sure that I go into my CRM and I document it and I treat it as if it's an employee that got the complaint, right? Because eventually when I do start hiring, that's what I'm going to teach them. And
Hmm.
I honestly like I love that because then I would go back like when I had the one of the largest routes when I worked for this company. So I would go be able to go back to that one specific account and I'm like, oh my gosh, this trash has been missed 6 times. Why is this trash continuously being missed? And so it kind of just lets you like go in there and like I would literally walk in a building and I'm like, I need to find this trash can. Where is this trash can? Why is it being missed? Are you just walking right by it? Is it
Hmm.
hidden? What's going on? And I really hope that eventually someday when I have more employees, they do the same thing. They want to know why something keeps getting missed. It gives you a good view on like the complaints. And so then you're not surprised, when that client says, hey, I've talked about this 100 times or I'm leaving you. You can go back and you can
Hmm.
check and not be surprised.
Yeah, for sure.
So, talking about what have you learned along the way with leadership, like keeping your employees happy, and kind of learning to manage a team more as you became a business owner? What have you learned in that on that side of the business?
So with the very first company that I went with for janitorial, that owner was amazing. He he knew. He's like, when I bought this franchise, he's like, I was cleaning toilets with them, like, so he knew what everything was like. One thing about him is he was very fair, and he listened to his employees, he listened to his subcontractors, and I've taken that with me since I left him. My subcontractors, they're the ones doing the job, right? Like, at the end of the day, they are out there at night while I'm at home with my kids. So I appreciate them 1,000%. So if there's anything that I could say that I've taken with me, like as a business owner, is just treating my subcontractors and my employees with the respect that they deserve, and paying fairly. I mean, I've worked for companies that their margins are so important and they want the highest margin they can get, but they didn't price it out fairly. Like, they priced it to win it, but now you can't pay what you should be paying. And so now you're paying a subcontractor $13 an hour and expecting them to pay someone else to go do it.
Hmm.
So that's my biggest thing. And I was raised that way, you treat the janitor with the same respect you would treat the CEO. So manager, owner, whatever I am, my employees, like, without them, I'm not going to have all the accounts that I have. So definitely treating them with respect, listening to them. A lot of times, not currently, but like in my past, I have clients that would complain about little things, like nitpicking little things, and this wasn't cleaned or that wasn't cleaned on my desk. And then you talk to the employee and they're like, well, they told me don't move anything off of my desk, so why would I go and clean that? Then you go back and you're like, okay, are you okay if we move something tonight, or do you want to clear your desk off? Because a lot of times, I don't think that clients even realize, like, oh yeah, we did have that conversation. Like, they have 1,000 things going on. So just listening to them with respect, paying them fairly, and I think with that's how you get longevity in your employees and your subcontractors. They don't want to go look for anything else.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good point too. I feel like with any employee, you want to feel respected and heard. And I think for even myself as an employee, it's like, obviously we want to be paid fairly, and that's an important thing as well. But for me, it's like, well, does my employer respect me, and does he listen to me when I talk? Doesn't mean everything's going to be implemented that I think or say, but do I feel heard? And like you said, that's going to reduce turnover. I used to work in sales and recruiting years ago, and that was the biggest thing. Was they would come to us and say, "Oh, we have lots of turnover, but we pay really well," and then we kind of got a better picture of their, the way that they treated their employees, and it's like, well, you didn't really listen to them when they had complaints. You didn't, like you said. I really liked what you said about logging every complaint. I know that was about clients, but with anything, logging it in the CRM or just taking note of it just shows that you listened, and that it doesn't have to keep coming up. That's when the frustration comes, and I think that's when you kind of fail as a leader, is you didn't clearly communicate. So that's awesome. If someone was a part of your team for a week, what would they best know you for as a leader?
Bringing Starbucks or some type of coffee.
That's very important.
Where I'm at, I'm like, do you want coffee? But they would probably say I'm really hands-on. It's funny because I'm always like, what can I do to help? And they're like, just step away. Like, go sit down somewhere. You're not helping at all. And I think I'm being so helpful. I actually remember I went on a job. I didn't know what a strip and wax was at one point. And I went on the job with a night manager that I had. And I was like, hey, what can I do to help? And he's like, well, your hair keeps falling, so I need you to put your hair up. And then I just need you to go stand by the door. Don't move, just watch. I will tell you what I'm doing. And I always go back to that story because I'm like, there I was thinking I was going to be so helpful. And, I don't know if you guys have ever seen what a strip and wax is. It looks really fun. But they were like sweating. It's a lot of work. So, yeah. But I would say that, if someone was with me for a week, they'd be like, that girl drinks a lot of coffee. She's super hands-on. She's very responsive, but I also don't let things slide. If something needs to get done, I make sure it gets done, and I ask for the follow-up. If I'm asking you to do something for me, I want you to follow up. I'm big on send me a picture, show me that it was done. That way I can tell the client. So, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that coffee thing is definitely very important, I'm sure. I know for me it
Yeah,
is, so.
Yep,
I
no
love
doubt.
it.
You
Yeah,
got anything
Jacob.
else, Jeff?
No, I was going to
Yeah.
ask you the same. I think I'm good.
Yeah, no, that was great. I appreciate. I think, like we mentioned, this is great for our listeners to hear kind of a snapshot of your industry and kind of how you run your business and help people um, see kind of the inside look of that. The one last question I'll ask, and then we'll kind of wrap it up here, is if you were to give someone, so let's say someone wants to get into this type of job, what's one piece of advice that you would give them, on how to find a great job, or, maybe they want to start their own business in their market? What would be the best piece of advice for them?
In the janitorial world, if they wanted to come into janitorial,
Yeah.
you mean? I
Yes.
would say
Yep.
just do
Sorry.
it. Honestly, like just go in there. I came from Verizon. I was a manager selling cell phones, like managing a store. I had a couple of different stores. I knew nothing about janitorial, and now I laugh because I'm like, I'm in the sexy world of cleaning toilets. Um, just take the risk. Take the risk. Start with a small company, like a mom and pop if you can, and just kind of learn learn what they're doing. To be honest, I've had so many like general managers, business owners, that they were more than willing to teach me, and they're like, eventually, if someday if you want to go on your own, there you go, you have the knowledge. But if you wanted to start on your own, just do it. I wish I would have done it the first time that I left my first company. It was mainly fear that stopped me, but everything is, you can teach, you can learn it. It's teachable. And so many people out there are more than willing to teach you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate it. We thank you so much again for hopping on. And, is there anything, or do you have any social medias that we could plug for you or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on all of them except TikTok. But in Instagram, Facebook, it's Roman Facilities Services. My LinkedIn is under me. It's Liliana Roman. I do have a business LinkedIn, but I'm slacking on that. I'm waiting for my son to come home from college so he can just run my social media.
There you go.
There you go. Awesome. Well, we will put that in the bio as well, so that everybody knows where to find you. But thanks again, and we'll hopefully hear from you sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks guys. Have a great day.
Thanks,
You too.
guys.
Thank you.